in order to understand the impact that AI is going to have on society, none of us, and I mean literally nobody living today has ever experienced this level of change that's going to be coming in the next 5 years. In order to have a mindset on how to tackle this, I want everybody to not think about like the cell phone. I don't want anybody to think about cloud computing. I don't even want anybody to think about electricity. I want everybody to think about what impact did the discovery of fire have to humanity. So we're talking about something to the effect of the discovery of fire and how it affected the world is how much impact AI is going to affect the world. Because we're now at a place in society where we're already seeing some of these impacts. So for example, let's take it one area at a time. Let's talk about education, right? We're already seeing the impacts in education in college classrooms.
Hmm.
People are not studying for exams anymore or doing assignments anymore because there's no value. A student could be in the middle of an exam, take a picture of their exam on their paper on their phone,
Hmm.
look at it under the table and get all the answers in a second. And it's going to be a 100% correct, right? So the disruption that happens at that level, and then at that, and a college student also now has to ask, what am I studying for? The job that's going to be there that I was going to study for is no longer going to exist in the next 5 years. And
Yeah, especially
that's
on
just
software engineering. Yep.
yeah. So
Especially on software
I work.
engineering.
So I work as a software engineer, and we can extrapolate the work that I do in technology into other fields, right? So take software engineering. In GPT-4, and we'll show some examples of this. When GPT-4 came out 2 years ago, you were able to ask it to write you a software program or take a very small software program and make an update.
Hmm.
Now what you're able to do is you're able to link using tools that have been created after that, such as a tool called Cursor, you're able to link it directly to a code base repository. And then after you've linked it to the code base repository, you can then just ask it, hey, can you make an update on this UI? I want you to add the following 10 fields. And it's going to go and look through all of your files. It's going to add all of those 10 fields. And then it's just going to say, here's all the updates. Can you review and let me know if you want to submit this? So the other day, I built an application in which I wanted to. So I think Nafiz mentioned to me there's a that the Habaib have said that in these times that we should recite Surah Al-Kahf, you know, daily or at least the first 10 and the last 10. So I was sitting there using my Quran app and I was like, this is really annoying having to open. This is how lazy we are, but like I was like, it's really annoying to have to open, Surah Al-Kahf, scroll down to 110. I was like, it'd be nice if I could just have an application where I could just click and it opens. So I said, oh, this would only take me 10 minutes anyway. So I go to the chat. I say, hey, can you make me this application? In 10 minutes, I have like a working application. And then now within another 10 minutes, I'm able to add the awrad, I'm able to add everything. Fully working application on the internet within 20 minutes. That would have taken somebody that would have taken weeks, maybe months and a lot of money, only 2 years ago to do.
To make an application that just had Surah Al-Kahf on it.
Surah Al-Kahf, I added Wird al-Latif, I added, all
Yeah.
the things that I, for example, have awrad for the day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Personalized to me.
Basically, what Muin is pointing to is, before printing press came, there was
Yeah.
a profession, there was a whole profession of people who would copy books to sell books
Scribes.
to
Yep.
other people, scribes, right? And after printing press, that whole profession got wiped out.
100%. Yeah.
So we are going to make a statement like that's going to seem like very provocative, but software engineering is going to be like that. Like humans coding is going to be like that. It's a matter of when, not if. The models are already here. Like there's already a term coined. It's called vibe coding. It means you just sit here and tell the model, hey, I need this. Then it generates it. Then you look at the output. Then you say, okay, I don't like this portion. Change this to this. And then it changes that. And it changes that. You are just basically doing English language communication, and it's just outputting things. And there will be a time when you won't even need to do that. The model will be able to plan.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the models are like weak in like planning and executing. And if there's a bug in the system, debugging that, but the models are like constantly improving on those two.
What did you mean by autonomously working?
Okay, so
Doesn't
so
somebody need to tell it what to do?
so that's the next thing I'll get to. So one, when we talk about software engineering as a career being wiped out, I
Yeah.
don't just mean software engineering like just one sole developer. I mean the entire stack. Everybody from like an analyst to a designer to a software engineer. If you have a team of 200 people, let's say you have a team of 10,000 people, right? Let's say a company like Meta. You can now reduce, maybe you need some humans, but you can now reduce 10,000 people to 10 people, right? We're talking about like 99% reduction,
Wow.
90% reduction, right? We're not talking about, 5 to 10%, a couple people get laid off. We're talking about an entire industry wiped out. Right now, all of those people, they get laid off. Where do they go? They're now going to go to the finance jobs. They're going to go to every other job that exists out there, right? That's like a white collar digital sit at your computer type job. And what we mean by autonomous is most people, since they've only used the GPT-4 or GPT 3.5 era, they're not even aware of how intelligent these systems now are. Before, you had to give it a command and it would do this command and let's say you gave it like, hey, I want you to summarize this document. The way that a language learning model understands that is it understands it as tokens. It doesn't actually see it as words, right? It's taking all of that out input and then it's converting into tokens, and then it would just basically estimate what it should give you back, right? And so it's doing like a prediction. Once it gives you all of this information back, now you're able to process it. The way when we say autonomous or when we say an agent, what that means is now you give it a task. I want you every day at 10 o'clock to pull all of the stock records for the top 10 most earning stocks, and give me a report. That's one level of autonomy, right? Every day at 10 o'clock, it's just a task that goes out and it does it for you.
Yeah.
Now we add a second agent and we say that, hey, when the first agent gives you back this report, we want you to then take this report and go purchase those stocks. Then we have a third agent that says, okay, after those stocks have been purchased, we want you to review with the first agent based on yesterday's information what the stock picks for tomorrow will be, right? And then all three of you are going to coordinate as a team, and you're going to work together to increase my net revenue for as a stock trader over the course of the next month. So what autonomy allows you to do with these models is you can now work on many different tasks at the same time. Now, for when you have an autonomous software engineer, you're not just going to have one. You can have 1 billion of them at the same time, right? So you can have the intelligence of 1 billion PhDs working for your company all at
Wow.
the same time, right? So there's now discussion even at the highest level of government, right? Elon Musk and these folks is how do we understand post-labor economics? As in, what happens when labor is no longer the driving motivator in an economy? What do you do when humans are just not necessary for anything anymore? So most of the world right now, as we understand it, is structured in a manner in which you go to high school, you go to college, you get a degree, and this degree will then get you a job, right? Most of education is not structured around pure education anymore, right? It's structured around how do I become like some corporate slave, right? So what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years is we're going to see a immediate drop in the value of intelligence, right? Like immediate drop. Like intelligence will no longer have the level of cost associated with it anymore. Like your degree is not going to be valuable anymore because like there's a meme going around that a guy he says, I went to Harvard, and the company CEO he says, well, that's great, but we have 1 million agents that are smarter than you and are more effective. And he says, like, can you mop the floor? Are you good at that? And he says, I'm not. And he's like this skinny guy, and he's just like, like I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to mop the floors. Like he's like, well, we have no use for you. And he says, well, what about my Harvard degree? He says, well, I'm sorry, your Harvard degree is not valuable here. Uh, and oh, by the way, we're not joking. Like Nafiz actually has a Harvard degree, right? Like we're not just like
Yeah.
talking about thin air, right? Like Nafiz has gone to Harvard and he's
Yeah.
saying this, right? So we're not just joking around and being hyperbolic and like there is like this is a real like discussion that we as Muslims need to start participating in because there's going to be a tremendous need to provide value, right? As in like there's going to be a crisis that people have. Like
Yeah.
everything that I worked for is now like useless. So
Yeah.
what is my purpose to live? Right? So that's where Muslims can come in and say, look, like your purpose wasn't to become like a data scientist anyway, right? Like we have a bigger purpose than this.